Hello everyone, my name is Jisoo Sahu. So today I will discuss about the payment integration system. So let's start. Introduction to the our project. Introduction to our project. Imagine you are using a merchant app like Amazon or Flipkart and you click the button pay now. So behind the scenes, a payment integration system like our handle that request. This system is responsible for verifying the payment details and processing the transaction and communicating securely with the payment service provider. In our case, a system like Trustly. So in this project, we develop the payment integration system. So this payment integration system, everything between the merchant and the PSP. The payment integration system, this system part, everything between the merchant and PSP is nothing but in payment service provider. So, so first of all, we know about the merchant system. A merchant is nothing but any business or website that want to accept online payments. For example, for example, book my show and for example Book My Show application or Swiggy application. Swiggy application. So those both application don't handle the payment directly. Don't handle the payments directly. It handles the payment via payment integration system. So we have worked on payment integration system. So what about the PSP server, a PSP service? So in our PSP system, it connect to connect. It is a connect to banks like Trustly, Razorpay, and etc. The payment service provider like Trustly and Razorpay connect to the bank and handle the actual money movement. PSP verify the account details and process payments and send back the confirmation. So here we are work with Trustly and Razorpay. Those are the payment service provider. So in merchant, the it do not handle the payment directly. So it communicate with the payment integration system, and then payment integration system with communicate with the payment service provider. Then those have request the payment uh, to the payment integration system, and it is check the business logics and with some operations, and after that it also check the valid the payment. If payment is valid, then it further process the payment process. Then after that it talks with payment service provider, and this service provider also check the payments, and return back to the payment integration system. If the payment is a success, then it return the success, and if the payment is failure, it return the payment failure. And it in this system it also go back to the merchant application, and return the message through the through the merchant. So these type of interaction with our applications. So we are focused on payment integration system because we are in backend developing the system. We are working with business logic operations. So going through our payment integration system, our payment integration system act as a bridge between merchant and PSP system. We provide API to merchant and then internally talk with PSP via another set of API. And this system handles many kind of business logics. One is validating the input and storing transaction details, communicating with PSP, uh, okay, I write the handle the systems. It handle any kind of uh, process. One is validating import, another is storing transaction, storing transaction details, and communicating with PSP securely, and it also work with updating payment status, payment and the last one is respond responding back to the merchant. In payment integration system, though these are the working flow of payment integration system. It is validating inputs, storing transaction details, communicating with the PSP securely, updating payment status, and responding back to the merchant. We'll discuss through about the feature sessions. So in let's walk through the complete payment flow. A merchant app send a payment request. A merchant app send a payment request using REST API. Using REST API. Using API. A merchant app send a payment request using REST API, secured with HMAC 250 HMAC SH 256, and this request hits our validation service, and it checks if the request is valid. Then then parameters are correct and signature match. If the parameter are correct and signature uh, match the request, then it go through the processing service, and the processing service also map to the request and store the data in database, and prepare the another API call, and now it talks to the trustly provider service using also REST API, and it responds with security and RSA encryption for security, and trustly the payment and send a response, success or failure, success or fail the response. success or failed. Success and failure the response. Success and the failure the response. Our trustly provider receive that response and update the database and the status and forward it back to the merchant application. So these are the basic flow with communicating with each other. So how merchant communicate with the payment integration system, and the payment integration system how work with services like validation service and processing service and trustly provider service, and those work have done, then payment integration system also communicating with the payment service provider, then it check the if the payment is a success or failure, it goes back to the goes back to the response to the payment integration system, and it is also updating and check the status and then go forward it back to the merchant application. Okay, so we have worked through the architecture base, how our payment integration system work. So basically, our payment integration system are using microservices style approach. So here microservices means it divide a small component or like a small small divided into small services. So what is a microservice and how it works in this project? So microservices are small and independent service that together form a complete system. So okay, before we discuss about the architecture, we know about the microservices. So uh, so we go to our so we discuss. So we know about the microservices. So we know about the microservices. Um, Before we develop our project, so we uh, latest approach is the microservice approach because use microservices using for better approaches, and it is also improve the scalability of and maintainability purpose we use the microservices. The So what is microservices in Java? So microservices in Java is a architectural approach where an application is built as a small and independent and loosely coupled services. So each service responsible for specific business functions. So it means here our project we have to divide it into some part. So this is a service, and this is also a service, and this is also a service. In our project, here in our project, we have to develop monolithic architecture uh, base project. So what is monolithic architecture based project? Here monolithic architecture based project means, so here in this project we add everything. In this project we have adding UiPath, and also using business logic path, and also using data access layer part, and those have all together in one project, and it will also work with one database. So in that time this approach will be very very large in this approach, and this application is a single approach and tightly integrated with the unit and DB. So this is a database. DB. Database, it is a monolithic architecture. Here monolithic architecture, this is also a traditional approach where the entire application is a single or a large and tightly integrated unit. So here we have discussed the in this application UI part also here, and business logic part also here, and data access layer is also here. So these these services are tightly coupled. So UI this is B logic. DO layer. So here in this architecture we have to use UAE in this architecture, and also with the business logic. And here also working with the DOA layer. So this approach and this monolithic architecture and design this project is going to be bad impression, because it not scalability and not maintainability, and the speed of development is also this process is also slow. So especially when dealing with a complex application, we have to choose microservices. And so here microservices are defined. A one project have divided into separate services and separate components. So it like so microservices is the best approach for complex applications. Here our project will divided into many component, and this kind of flow of statement, and this is a good approach because of in this it is also a service where in this is a service, and this is also a service, and this is also a service. So in the service they have in this service they have also their own port number, and they also have their storage memory location memory, and they have a own memory, and they have own service, and they have many independent business logics right into the uh, the services layer. And also here we have put into the business logic, and so this approach we will use in our project because mm, microservices are loosely coupled, and loosely coupled service, and each service responsible for specific business functions. So that have to used in our project, and we have used in our project. So one is validation service, and another one is processing service, and another one is trustly provider service. So these are the microservices, and these have own in these services they have own port number and own memory, and this is also it is a service one. uh, this is service one, this one, this one, and this is a store service 2, and this is our service 3, So in this architecture, here it is the merchant system. So here is the merchant system. It is the merchant system, and it is the payment integration system, and it is the payment service provider system, PSP system. So here merchant talk to with our payment integration system. So merchant app send a payment request using API and secured with HMAC SHA 256. This request hits our validation service, and it check if the request is valid and parameter are correct and signature are also matched. Then if it is the valid, then it is forward to the next request to the processing services. Then the processing service map the request and store the data in database. Store the data in database. Store the data in database, and prepared another call to the API, and now it talks to the Trustly provider, and so here this is the connection. Send the request, and here it is send the also a request, and now it talks the Trustly provider servicing using REST and RSA encryption for security, and Trustly process the payment and send response to, and it talk with payment service provider, and Trustly process the payment, and Trustly process the payment and send to the response the success and failure to the payment integration system. Our Trustly provider receives that response and update the database and the status, and forward it back to the merchant. So today this is our discussing so how to interact with our uh, connections, how to payment integration talk to with merchant application, um, and how to talk to with the payment service provider using API. API is nothing but communicate between one application to another application. So today all of the discuss I will discuss all about this topic. Okay, thank you.